Hi, my name is Maddie. I'm from ATAR Wizard, and today I'm going to be taking you through VCE Psychology Unit 4, Area of Study 1, dot point 1. Now, this dot point states sleep is a psychological construct that's broadly categorised as a naturally occurring altered state of consciousness and is further categorised into REM and NREM sleep, and the measurement of physiological responses associated with sleep through electroencephalography, or EEG, electromyography, which is EMG, electro-oculography, or EOG, sleep diaries, and video monitoring. So, in talking about that, we're going to start with understanding sleep as a psychological construct. So in doing that, we're going to look at consciousness, meaning normal waking consciousness and altered states of consciousness. And then we're going to move on to sleep and the kinds of sleep. So first up, we have consciousness. Now the notes I'm using are our complete Unit 3 and 4 psychology notes package. So you can purchase them via the link in the bio and they will completely help you out through your whole year of VCE Psychology. They're really helpful. A psychological construct, which means that, so psychological construct means that it's something going on inside your head. It's not a directly observable phenomenon. So we need to use other things in order to understand what is happening and how it can be measured. So it being a psychological construct means that it's really important for later on, because it means that we can't measure it just by someone telling us how it is, but we're going to get to that later. So a psychological construct which indicates that a person has awareness of themselves. So I'm conscious right now. I am aware of everything that's going on. Well, not everything, because we can't be aware of everything, but I'm aware mostly of what's going on around me and what's going on inside my head. I'm having conscious thoughts as I'm doing this. So I have awareness of myself, my surroundings, and the objects in the world. I know what's going on and I know what's going on around me. So an individual's state of consciousness is indicated by self-reporting, which is a way of reporting in which you just are telling someone else what you're feeling, what you're saying. If I'm self-reporting to you, then a researcher might ask me a question about how, they asked me to say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how aware do you feel of your surroundings? And I said 10, that would indicate to them that I had a high level of consciousness. And it can also be indicated by behavior. So we're going to behave differently if we can tell what's going on around us. If you think of a person who's just fainted, they're going to be, if you've ever seen someone faint, afterwards they're going to be looking around and they're going to be kind of not really sure where they are or what's going on. Or like when you wake up in the morning and you're still not really sure what's going on around you, but you do know that you've just woken up. So that would indicate a lower level of consciousness if your behavior indicates you don't know what's going on. Whereas if you're on a soccer field and you're kicking a soccer ball, then you're going to have a higher level of consciousness. You're watching what's going on around you. And so then physiological changes, which again we look at later, and that's like your heart rate, the electrical signals going on in your brain, and the actions going on in your muscles. So then we have kinds of consciousness, which we look at as the normal waking consciousness and as an altered state of consciousness. So our normal waking consciousness is when someone is awake and aware of themselves and their surroundings. So we know I'm aware of myself and I'm aware of my surroundings, and that is normal waking consciousness. And then you have a altered state of consciousness, which is a state of consciousness in which someone is not experiencing NWC, normal waking consciousness. So you are essentially not awake and aware of your surroundings. So when you are asleep, that is an altered state of consciousness. So these altered states of consciousness can either be induced, like if you're intoxicated, or they can be naturally occurring like sleep or fainting. So an induced altered state of consciousness would occur if you were getting a surgical procedure or something and they put you under an anesthetic, whereas a naturally occurring altered state of consciousness occurs when you are sleeping. And so sleep is, as I said before, a naturally occurring altered state of consciousness in which someone is relatively unresponsive. So if you have someone that is, if you think of a sibling and you're trying to wake them up, if you're like shaking them, they might wake up, but they might not. if you walk into the bedroom of someone who's sleeping and you start talking at them, they're not going to really understand what you're saying until they've fully woken up, until you've woken them up. So they're relatively unresponsive compared to what they would be while they are in normal waking consciousness, and they experience perceptual disengagement from their environment. This perceptual disengagement is essentially what I said before. So when you're asleep, often when you wake up, it's bright again outside. You've been perceptually disengaged from the sun rising and from the changes occurring outside because you were in this altered state of consciousness. So now we're going to move on to the next part of the dot point, which is the categorization of sleep into REM and NREM sleep. So REM stands for, I'm going to get a different color for this. Let's go orange. That'll be a bit cute. So REM sleep stands for rapid eye movement, because during REM sleep, we have our eyes closed, but underneath our eyeballs are moving around rapidly. It's really weird, and our eyes keep moving, and that is what differentiates rapid eye movement sleep from non-rapid eye movement sleep, which is NREM. So non-rapid eye movement sleep is NREM sleep, but from now on we will just be referring to them as REM and NREM because it's easier. So during REM, there are high levels of brain activity whilst the body is almost perfectly still. REM is also categorized by that rapid movement of the eyes. So if you are asked in a SAC or in the exam how to differentiate between REM and NREM sleep, the easiest point to do is to state that in REM sleep, there is rapid movement of the eyeballs or the muscles in the eyes, and in NREM sleep, there is not rapid movement of the eyes. So NREM has 3 stages, so split it into NREM 1, NREM 2 and NREM 3, and these all mean slightly different things about your sleep cycle. So NREM is also categorized through an increased level of muscle movement and a lower level of brain activity. So there's going to be higher activity on the electromyograph and lower activity on the EEG relative to that of the REM sleep. Yeah? Let's go. Cool. So we'll go through the measures of sleep now and how they relate to each of those sleep stages. So we've got electroencephalography, again, the EEG. Now this is a device that detects, amplifies, and records electrical activity in the brain. Now, we can go through that, and a really good way of memorizing that is the acronym DARE, D-A-R-E, which stands for detects, amplifies, records, and then the E is electrical activity. So if you're asked a question about that, it's really good to go back to that DARE acronym, because then you won't miss out on any parts of that answer to the question. So the EEG receives information in waves. So it's going to look like this below. They have a varying frequency and varying amplitude. So the frequency is like how far apart each wave is. So low frequency here because there's a bigger distance between them, so less brain waves occur within a space of time, and a high frequency here because more waves are occurring in this space of time, if that makes sense. So that's frequency, which is the number of brain waves per second, and again, so here the number of brain waves per second in these waves is lower, and here it is higher, so it's high frequency and low frequency. whilst the amplitude is the up and down movement, refers to the intensity of these. So a higher amplitude is just that the brain waves go higher. So that's going to be a higher amplitude, whereas this is a higher amplitude, and this is a lower amplitude. That's a really awful arrow, but there we go. So then we have, so that's how the electroencephalograph records information about sleep. So the electromyograph is a device that detects, amplifies, and records electrical activity in the muscles. Now, during REM sleep, there's going to be low activity, and during NREM sleep, there's going to be higher activity detected on the electromyograph. Now, with the electromyograph, you can remember that because it has an M in it, it's about the muscles. So it's got an M in it, and so it is detecting detecting the amount of electricity in your muscles. So REM sleep has low activity because in REM sleep we often dream, and so our body effectively paralyzes itself so that we don't act out our dreams by accident, which means that our muscles are very, very still and the electromyograph doesn't pick up very much information. Again, you use that DARE acronym for detects, amplifies, and records electrical activity, but this time in the muscles because you've got that M in the EMG. And so, yeah, it's low activity during REM because our body's effectively paralyzed to prevent us from acting out our dreams. Whereas in NREM, this doesn't happen because we tend to dream less in NREM sleep, and we have that higher activity detected. So then we move on to the electro-oculogram. So this is a device that detects, amplifies, and records electrical activity in the muscles surrounding the eyes. So it's important you say the muscles surrounding the eyes because it's not our eyeball that we're detecting, it's the bit that it's being moved by the muscles. So the patches, the electrodes will go not actually onto your eyes. So they're detecting the electrical signals of the muscles surrounding the eyes. So for that EOG, during REM, there will be the high activity recorded because, again, rapid eye movement. Whereas the NREM is going to have lower activity removed because it's non. That is completely spelled wrong, what I just wrote. Because it has the non-REM. Yeah? Thumbs up. Thumbs up. So then in this study design dot point towards the end, we've got sleep diaries and video monitoring as another way of measuring the physiological responses associated with sleep. So here we might get a new color because new thing. What color should we go with? Thinking blue. Let's get like a nice, maybe this blue, I'm thinking. So we've got a sleep diary, which effectively keep a record of when someone falls asleep, how well they think they slept. So this is important because it's a biased form of measuring because someone is self-reporting rather than it being an objective measure like the EEG, the EOG, and the EMG, which you can't, is not subjective, whereas someone here in the sleep diary is subjectively reporting how they feel about how they slept. This is particularly important in sleep because often people will have brief periods of awakening during the night that they don't remember when they wake up. So how they think they slept when they wake up, you might put in a sleep diary the number of times they woke up during the night and other information. You can, different sleep studies will have different information that they ask to report in the sleep diaries, which helps indicate what kind of sleep the person is likely to have experienced. So then we have video monitoring, where this often happens in sleep studies, in sleep labs, because obviously there are ethical concerns with videoing someone while they're sleeping, and informed consent and withdrawal rights are really important. So it's often done in a laboratory setting. And a video is taken of a person whilst they're sleeping, which allows scientists to gain information on their sleep by observing kinds of movement and other sleep habits. So in this, if someone's moving around a lot in their sleep, that's an indication that they're in a lighter stage of NREM sleep, maybe NREM 1, whereas then they become more, once they become stiller in their sleep, they might become closer to NREM 3. And then once they're completely still, that's an indication that they're in the REM stages. So it's often used in conjunction with the quantitative measures of sleep, like the EMG and the EOG and what we talked about, and the EEG, what we talked about before, because video monitoring can't tell for sure exactly where in the sleep cycle someone is, and it can be subjective between researchers. What one researcher interprets to be completely still or still enough to be NREM 2 or NREM 3 might be completely different to what another researcher believes that stage looks like. So that's why, but if you use that in conjunction with looking at the brainwaves someone has on an EEG or the EMG, that's going to tell you a lot more about what sleep stage they might be in, rather than just using the sleep diary or the video monitoring by themselves. So that is the end of Unit 4 Area of Study 1.1. Now, next video, we are going to be going and talking about the next dot point in the Unit 4 Area of Study 1. So we'll look at regulating sleep-wake patterns and how that's done, and the circadian rhythm. So how the body moves through the different stages of NREM and REM. So that is going to be super interesting. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Now, via the link in your bio, you can grab your own copy of these lovely notes we have here. That is not, wait, of the notes. You can grab your own copy of them, and they are really good to help you go over everything, and even if you mark up your own notes in conjunction with watching these videos. Now, if you want to go more in depth into the Unit 4 Area of Study 1.1 or any other content in all of Unit 3 and 4 VCE Psychology, I do one-on-one tutoring sessions, so you can book them by the link in our bio, and I absolutely cannot wait to see you again soon. Thank you guys, and remember, like and subscribe for more. Bye!